petite balade. Super. Alors, normalement, ils vont me rejoindre sur scène. Comme ça va m'éviter un moment de solitude. Donc, j'appelle sur scène les participants à cette opération à vélo sans âge, Ole Kassow, Dite Perny, les résidents de la Villa Beau Soleil, ainsi que Simon Gauguin. Je vois du mouvement. Bonjour, on les applaudit bien fort. Bonjour. Bonjour mesdames. Bonjour monsieur, voilà, bonjour. Super. Bon alors, comment ça s'est passé cette balade? Attendez, je vais vous prendre des micros, ça va être plus facile. Alors forcément, c'est un petit peu impressionnant de se retrouver sur scène, hein, sur la scène du Palais des Congrès de Deauville. Comment ça s'est passé? Est-ce que je peux vous demander qu'est-ce que vous avez ressenti?
Très bien, on est dorlotés ici,
ah ouais?
On s'occupe bien de nous. On mange et on boit tout le temps.
Et puis là, vous prenez l'air, là.
Pour avoir moins froid quand on va ressortir.
C'était super.
Ouais. On a des calories.
Bon, vous me donnez votre prénom?
Brigitte.
Brigitte.
Morissette.
Morissette, ça s'est bien passé?
Impeccable.
Ouais.
Impeccable.
Ça vous a permis de prendre l'air?
Ça peut pas être mieux. Hein.
Ça vous plaît? Vous aimeriez que ça se développe un petit peu sur Deauville? Peut-être ce genre d'initiative? On peut lancer un appel s'il y a des élus locaux.
Il y a du monde. Hein.
Il y a du beau monde, ça c'est sûr. Alors, monsieur Tempère, ça vous a plu? Attendez, je ne vous bloque pas la vue. Ouais, c'était bonjour. Quand on vous a parlé d'aller faire un petit balade en vélo, vous vous êtes dit quoi? Vous vous êtes dit sympa, parce que j'ai pas l'habitude de voir.
Pas l'habitude du tout. Donc je me suis dit, c'est le moment d'en profiter. Et c'est très 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 bien.
Ouais.
Confortable, sans problème.
Vous n'avez pas eu froid, ça a été?
Oh non, ça a été...
Non. Et alors, vous êtes allé où? Racontez-nous votre petit tour, là.
On a fait une balade jusqu'à Trouville. On a vu Trouville, on a vu les rues de Deauville.
Ouais.
Une petite balade, donc le temps d'arriver ici, c'est bon.
D'accord.
Avec le soleil.
Vous connaissiez l'initiative de... attendez, je change. Vous êtes... Le directeur,
oui,
tout à fait, de la Villa Beau Soleil. Vous connaissez cette initiative à vélo sans âge?
Non, le concept du triporteur, oui, mais développé aux personnes âgées, je trouve que c'est super. Et c'est vraiment un concept innovant, sympa, agréable.
Ouais.
Et sécurisant, et ça peut tout à fait se déployer un peu partout. Et nous-mêmes, peut-être qu'on pourra un jour s'équiper, pourquoi pas.
Quel est votre prénom?
C'est très bien, madame. J'apprécie le confort et...
Quelle était la réaction
qu'on a
des gens dans la rue?
Comment?
Des gens dans la rue? C'était quoi la réaction?
Ils nous ont applaudi.
Ah, ils nous ont applaudi?
Et puis après, on est content de les revoir tous. Ouais.
Bon. Donc une bonne opération.
Super.
Super, ça s'est très bien passé. Ok. Bon, voilà, on peut les applaudir quand même parce que ça demande du courage de venir sur une scène comme ça. Hein. Là, j'aurais bien aimé que Florence me dise oui, j'ai découvert ça à Copenhague, c'est super. Elle m'a manqué là sur la scène. Donc c'est à Copenhague que vous avez découvert
ça matche un petit peu avec ce qu'on se disait hier, puisque hier je suis venue présenter un petit peu le voyage d'Espagne qu'on fera fin septembre. Et donc c'est lors de notre voyage à Copenhague l'année dernière, j'en avais parlé hier, que nous avons découvert Ole Kassow, que nous avons fait avec Jean-Alain un tour en vélo sans âge, qu'il nous a fait sa présentation, que vous allez voir.
Je ne l'ai même pas vu partir.
Dans 5 minutes.
Hi Ole. Thanks for being with us.
Dans 5 minutes. Et donc voilà, alors c'est vrai que le vélo à Copenhague, c'est un art de vivre, puisqu'ils ont réussi dans les 20 dernières années à avoir plus de circulation en vélo qu'en voiture. La voiture est portion congrue aujourd'hui à Copenhague, et tous les déplacements se font en vélo. Tout le monde a son vélo. Des pistes cyclables partout. Il faut faire super attention à Copenhague en traversant, non pas à cause des voitures, mais à cause des vélos, qui ont vraiment tout pouvoir. Donc, en tout cas, qui font la loi complète dans la circulation à Copenhague. Et donc, ils ont réussi là où on voudrait bien peut-être un jour réussir. Et donc ça nous a vraiment, on a dit bon, vélo plus Danemark, on voudrait bien récupérer aussi cette petite idée parce qu'on a trouvé ça super. Voilà. Donc,
Ole, vous êtes donc à l'initiative de Vélo sans âge. Vous parlez français? You speak French?
I can understand a little French.
Vous en
but I
comprenez
only
un
speak
peu,
English.
mais vous parlez. Bon, de toute façon, vous allez nous faire votre présentation en anglais, et puis c'est sous-titré. Donc Ole est venu avec des photos pour expliquer le concept. It's up to you now. It's your show. If this doesn't work, you have a little.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much.
This, okay. À vous, Ole. Merci. Ah, toutes les trois? Non. Ah oui, d'accord. Les vélos repas.
parfois, Philippe n'est pas du tout synchro. Le vélo repas, c'est-à-dire quoi là? On ressort pour faire juste une photo parce qu'il était au bar à côté.
Non, on fera
Bah,
peut-être
je
les
vous fais en
photos. On fera peut-être les photos après, non? Parce que là,
Ah oui,
Ole,
je
il
pense
était
qu'on va
prêt.
plutôt
Il
y
était,
aller,
oui.
ça va être là.
Il était prêt. Il était motivé.
Are they coming back?
Non.
No? Okay.
Oui? Non, après. D'accord. Vous faites des frayeurs.
Let's see if we can get it. Well, thank you very much for inviting me here to beautiful Deauville. I'm really delighted to be here, and we just took a bike ride through Deauville and Trouville. And I must tell you that it was a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to see this beautiful part of France. And so we're delighted at Cycling Without Age, à vélo sans âge, that you have invited us to join you here and show you what Cycling Without Age is all about. A while ago, I was invited into a nursing home to meet with the residents there and to talk about cycling and what cycling meant to them. And at one point I asked the residents, first of all I asked them how many people have ever owned a bike. And they all said, yes, we've all owned a bike. And then I asked them a second question, and that was, how many of you, can you tell me what emotions you think about and what comes up in your mind when you think about cycling? And everybody was looking at each other thinking, what is it all about? And some of them said, well, I could just almost see them all thinking about their youth and memories from old times when they were cycling and when they were mobile, when they were able to move around. And then at some point, a lady just almost like shouted, freedom. I think of freedom because to me, cycling is the perfect vehicle to get around, to move around, but I can't do that anymore. And people around her were looking at her going, yes, that's really what we think it's about. It's about freedom. And all the things that you associate with being able to roam freely. And as we were sitting there, so I had maybe 30 elderly people sitting in front of me, I could almost tell that the days of past, of being mobile and being happy was just running as a film before their eyes. And it was really quite an emotional situation. This is a photo from the 1930s in Copenhagen. And you can almost tell, you can almost put yourself back into that picture from the 1930s. My own personal journey with Cycling Without Age started 5 years ago when I met this elderly gentleman. At the time he was 95 and he's turning 100 in August. And I'm going to tell you how I met Torkil and how that really changed my life. Because I walked into a nursing home and decided that I wanted to give the elderly people the chance to move again, to be mobile and to be part of their local community. I firmly believe that kindness has the potential to change the world. And we can all make a difference every single day. And every one of us, I don't know if you've ever really considered that, but every one of us can walk down the street and be a change maker. We can put out what I call our superhero glasses. And if we put on our superhero glasses, we can see all the little things that we have the power to change every single day. And I think we should. But unfortunately, I've also, from visiting many, many nursing homes around the world over the last 5 years, I've also come to see that elderly people are really quite a vulnerable and marginalized group in our society. And I have also seen that there is a tendency that we use technology and medication the way we treat elderly people, instead of what I believe is the best way and the happiest way, is to give them the opportunity to live and to be part of the local community and to form relationships. That is so much part of the good life, of being happy, of happiness. The famous Danish poet Hans Christian Andersen once said, "To travel is to live. Voyager, c'est vivre." And he obviously wasn't around, he's not around now to see cycling without age, but I think he would have enjoyed a ride in one of these trishaws. Cycling without age really is about telling stories to each other, of being able to make your stories pass on to a new generation. And it's about building relationships. Because when you tell your stories, when you open up to people, you start feeling positive emotions and you start forming relationships with people. And this is a picture from the first ride that we did back in 2013, when we got the first 5 trishaws in Copenhagen. And what really inspires me is to see the way people who are perhaps otherwise seemingly isolated, that they re-find their desire, their motivation to live. This is a gentleman called Knud. He's 84. He was on one of our long rides where we ride for several days. And he is a retired bicycle repairman. And at one point we had a puncture on one of the bikes. And then Knud stepped forward like this and said, "I can fix that." And so he fixed the flat tire. And I'm telling you, the pride of this gentleman that he was able to actually make a difference, he could solve the problem, was amazing to watch. It's about identity and dignity. And now, Knud lives in a nursing home where they have one of these bikes, and he's in charge of the bike. So he maintains the bike, he fixes the bike if it breaks down. And he says, I'd rather do that than sit around in my room and wither. Because, you only live once, and you might as well get the most of it. And another favorite quote is from Alexander here, who's 81. He's a former elite gymnast. And he says, "I really just like to be able to go out and do the little pleasures of daily life." Because when you're in a nursing home, maybe you can't use your own money because everything is being provided for. But there is nothing better than being able to go outside and be autonomous and to be able to actually make your own decisions. And in this case, going out with Cecilia, who's 24, and thereby building relationships between the generations. And I'm telling you also that the benefits go both ways. So Cecilia gets a lot out of harvesting the wisdom of someone like Alexander, who's 81. This particular gentleman called Hans thought he was never ever going to cycle again because he's in a wheelchair. He can't move from his waist down, and he said, "I loved to cycle when I was a young man, but I thought that was going to be my last time." And also when he saw the trishaw, he said, "There's no way I can get into that." But with ingenuity, with positivism, and with just a general can-do attitude, we were able to get him up. And he was an inspiration for a lot of other people and nursing homes around Denmark and now around the world to get people out cycling again, no matter what their condition is. This is a family of 3. So this is Sonja and Einar, the parents, sitting in the front seat, and their son Jan, who's in his 50s. Einar is suffering from dementia, and increasingly the mother and the son was finding it difficult to visit Einar because he felt he was not really able to have a conversation. And then they discovered the bicycle. And the wonderful thing is that when they go out, they take coffee and sandwiches, and they go around and they meet people from the local community. And like Jan is saying, the meetings they have on the bike out in the city or in the small town would not be the same if they were to take place in the nursing home. Because when you're in the nursing home, you are in a completely different setting, and things are expected. Maybe you're sitting in front of each other, but when you're on a bike, all three of you are sitting looking at the same direction, and you're feeling the same things, and you're having the same experiences. And then suddenly, as Sonia says, suddenly Einar starts talking again. And he starts explaining his emotions, and he gets happy. And the effects last for several days as well, which is the great thing. We also do some wonderful things with kids. In this case, it's a local school class who have a friendship with the local nursing home. So what we have done in Cycling Without Age, we have trained the parents to ride the bikes. So they take a child, 11 years old, and an elderly person, in this case Else, who is 96, and they go out for bike rides and they have a wonderful time. And we do other things as well. We like to experience and be curious, and in this case we take 6 elderly people to a local school, and then we get involved in home economics. And this is Hjördis, who's 86, and she hasn't cooked a meal for 15 years, she says. But suddenly she cooks with the young girls, and she's able to tell them, this is how you peel a potato. This is how we used to prepare the meat in the old days. And she's able to pass it on. Because my experience is that elderly people can get to a situation where they feel invisible, where they feel that there is no use for them. But when you give them an opportunity to flourish again by simply just applying the things they know, the things they've always done throughout their lives, and pass it on, they regain purpose in their lives. This is Arne, who's 62, and you can easily tell that it's in Denmark because you've got a couple of Tuborg beers in the hands and one cigarette in one of the ladies. And Arne, he had early retired, but he said, I was really beginning to lose the purpose of my life. But now I feel I have something to get up to in the morning again. And so he goes out 2 or 3 or 4 times a week and rides in the local town with the elderly residents. And it gives him as much as it gives the residents, and they form these relationships. And I think it's quite amazing that a simple bike ride can make such a difference in a person's life. Then in 2014, we decided to see if we could push the boundaries a little bit more by going on a long ride. So we took a 250-kilometer ride from Denmark to Germany, to Hamburg. And we had 3 overnight stays. And we had 10 rickshaws and 20 residents. And now we've done that over and over again. We're cycling to Norway. We've been cycling to Sweden 2 weeks ago. In fact, this jacket here is one that we use when we're out cycling, and we have these tour jackets, and it's almost like being on a school camp again. All the barriers and the boundaries between young people and old people and staff and so on, it completely disappears. And it's almost like you're in a bubble. You're transformed into somewhere else. We always go with at least 10 rickshaws because it gives a fantastic feeling of community. And we see really positive effects on dementia as well. This is Eva, who is struggling a lot with her dementia. She really wants to escape. She wants to leave the nursing home all the time. And because she can't do that, it makes her aggressive and sad. So we were a little bit apprehensive about inviting her along. But we decided, yes, everybody should be able to go along. It transformed those 3 days for her. She was completely quiet. She was singing, humming, and she was sleeping like a stone at night. And normally she gets up at least 10 times and walks around. And I think it's amazing. And that's basically also the testimony that there are other ways to deal with people's aggression, anger, or sleep deprivation than medicine. there are other ways we can do it by simply just stimulating the senses. And that's what we do when we go out. And this is a restaurant that's situated 600 meters into the ocean. We went out there, got wonderful food, we got wind in our hair, we listened to the birds, and just generally had an absolutely wonderful time. And imagine being able to go out and invite someone out to give them an experience like that, to look over the ocean. This is an improvised barbecue on the beach on one of our long rides. And we have an expression in Denmark called hygge. Have you ever heard of that? I'm pretty sure it's almost impossible to pronounce for a French person. But it embodies community, happiness, being together with other people. And usually also it involves something really nice to eat. And that's really what a trip like this embodies. And it's what I think makes people happy in general and gives them a really high quality of life. And it helps really battle and combat solitude and loneliness. Because you can be alone, which is probably fine for most people, but there's nothing worse than feeling alone, feeling that you don't matter to anyone anymore. But when you're out and you start singing, you're on the bike, you're feeling that you belong and you're part of something greater, then that really has a potential to dramatically change your life. This is a photo I took of Ingrid on the long ride to Norway. And she says she's always loved the ocean, but she lives far away from the sea now. But when she got out there, you could just tell that she could completely accelerate it. And she stood out there for a long time and just stretched out her hands and just soaked in the beautiful ocean air. And what I really feel very inspired about is when I see relationships out of the blue emerging. In this case, Thomas and Willy meeting and having a good time. And they've actually become really good friends after the long ride as well. And I believe that we have a tendency to look at old people as just old people, rather than looking at the person behind. And in this case, they found out that they had a lot of things in common. But there is just a tendency that you don't necessarily hang out with people who are of a completely different era. There we go. So since our small beginnings in 2012, we now have 250 chapters in 30 countries. And this week we've just been to Brighton and London and Dublin. And to me, it's just amazing to see how, no matter where we go in the world, the smiles seems to be the same. The photo here in the top right from France is actually down from Cap Breton, which is a beautiful part of the world, and where these folks are coming out and looking over the ocean again for the first time for many years. And even in countries like United States, Texas, where it's really, really hot, or in Singapore, where you wouldn't think that it would be okay to take out elderly people when it's 38 degrees. But I'm telling you, we cycle absolutely everywhere. We cycle when it's snowy, when it's rainy, and when it's really, really hot. Because as one person said to me, one elderly lady said to me a while ago, she said, I really enjoy getting out and feeling a little bit cold, because then I really appreciate getting inside again. Because if I'm sitting inside for 2 years and I don't go outside, I don't appreciate being warm, but now I do. And then she was laughing. And I think that was amazing to witness that. We have some wonderful people in vélo sans âge here in France. This is Ditte Jacobsen. So she is the spearhead of vélo sans âge in France. And she's also here today. So if you go into the exhibition area, you'll see the bikes and you can talk to Ditte. There's also Pernille, who is half Danish, half French. And she's also here today. She was also on stage just before. And there is also Jane, who you saw on the stage as well, cycling one of the bikes out, and her husband, Nicolas. So I would invite you to come and talk to us and get our experiences, and hopefully we have inspired you to get started as well, wherever you might be in France. The next step would be to check out our website and simply just find out if there is anything that tickles your fantasy. So thank you very much.
Ole vous a, pour ceux qui ne parlent pas anglais, vous a